What's up, everyone? I'm Andy.
And I'm Gooey, and we're here to tell you about our new Patreon series over at patreon.com/spnet.
Ever wish you could experience your favorite Metroid games again for the first time? Well, we have the next best thing. My pal Gooey is playing Metroid for the first time, and we're podcasting about the experience.
Join me as I start off with Nestroid, making my own maps and exploring Zebes for the first time. I'm going through the highs and the lows of the Metroid series, playing the games for the first time, and you get to decide what games we tackle next.
That's right. Patrons can ask questions to Goo and myself and then get in on what we play next.
Will you choose Mercy and select Super Metroid or Metroid Prime?
Or will you choose violence and make Goo see that Ridley scene from Metroid Other M? It's all up to you.
Come live vicariously through me as I embark on my Metroid journey in Gooey Plays Metroid. Available only on patreon.com/spnet.
See you next mission. Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri and I'm flying solo this week. Let me tell you guys, it's been quite a week. We had an episode that I was going to say recorded. We got about halfway through recording an episode and then we had a dreaded technical difficulty issue and the episode unfortunately could not be salvaged. We did not have enough time to get together and record a new episode or a new version of that episode. And so we're going back to the well here tonight, and we are going to be giving you guys a Patreon unlock. It's been a while since we have went and unlocked the Patreon vault, and so we're going to go all the way back to September of 2022. We are going to be taking a look today at one of the, I would say, a notorious ROM hack that I reviewed back then. This is a game called Metroid Oil Spill, and it is a Metroid Fusion ROM hack, and it's made by Spedimus. And this game was brutal, and I don't mean brutal as in it was bad. I mean brutal as in it was very difficult. I remember I had quite a hard time with it back when I was playing it. So we've got that on tap for today, and we're gonna get to that. But I did want to just take a few minutes actually, and just a little solo Spiteri time with y'all, and talk about a few things that are happening in the video game world at large. And what I really wanted to mainly focus on is we had a Sony State of Play that went down last week, and you know what? I thought that it was a really, really fantastic State of Play from kind of like I think I've said it on the pod a couple weeks ago. Like I've kind of been, I don't know, like in and out on Sony for the last couple of years. There hasn't been anything that's really like drawn me in or hooked me to make me like really just, you know, want to get a PlayStation 5. Like I still haven't got a PlayStation 5 yet, and there hasn't been that big game that has been out that's really kind of, you know, enticed me to do so. Like I feel like in 2016 to maybe 2020 there was a really strong run of games from like God of War to Last of Us 2. Spider-Man was kind of new and fresh, and I don't know, for whatever reason they just haven't quite captured me since then. And you know what, I'm saying that, and I haven't played Astro Bot or like I really haven't been up to date on my PlayStation games. I would throw the first Final Fantasy VII remake into that really good run that they had as well, as well as I would say Death Stranding. But since that kind of subsided in like the PS4 time, I guess I just I've been a little bit off the wagon, let's just say. But man, I was watching this state of play. I shouldn't say I was watching it. I kind of watched the trailers after it was done. I thought this was really, really strong. And of course, the big news, the big ticket item is the return, mercifully, after almost 20 years, is the return of Castlevania. I am a huge Castlevania fan. That's probably shocking to nobody. I love Castlevania. I love the story. I love the lore. I love the gameplay. I love the aesthetic. And so it's been really, really frustrating over the last, I would say like at least like 15 years, where Konami just has not released a Metroidvania style Castlevania game. Like they had the Lords of Shadow sub-series that Mercury Steam developed rather, and that just like wasn't really my thing. It was, the gameplay was different, the story was different. It was like an alternate timeline, and it just kind of made me like think to myself, like where is the Castlevania that I want, especially after the huge success of the Netflix show as well, which in that time they have done 4 seasons of Castlevania and 2 seasons of the Castlevania spin-off. So not getting a new Castlevania game, I thought was just like so infuriating to me as a fan. But man, we are back. We are back in a big way with the announcement of Castlevania Belmont's Curse. And so this is going to be in celebration of Castlevania's 40th anniversary, actually. So they debuted the trailer for Belmont's Curse, and this, like, honestly, this checked like all of the boxes for me that I was looking for in a new Castlevania game. It wasn't outright confirmed that this is a Metroidvania, but there's a shot in the trailer which features a map that looks like it's ripped out of a lot of standard Metroidvania games. So very excited about this. It's got a really cool art style. It's like sort of pixely, sort of not. It almost looks like Blasphemous, kind of mixed with maybe Bloodstained, which I guess would be appropriate. So really captivating art style, and the gameplay, I mean, looks great. Like it looks very much kind of like a classic Castlevania, but mixed with, I would say, some of the combat that we might expect from like a game like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is no bad thing. That was one of the best Metroidvanias I've frankly ever played. So I'm really, really excited for this. I'm watching the trailer now as I'm talking, and this just looks like so awesome. You got all these great bosses. The visuals look great. And you know what? It's developed by Motion Twin as well. Who, of course, made Dead Cells, which was another great Metroidvania, one that we did inspired by Metroid on, if you wanted to go and check that out in the archives here. Dead Cells wasn't like my favorite Metroidvania, but I would chalk that up to the roguelike nature of it, not that the gameplay was bad in any way. So I'm really excited for this. Like, it's coming out in 2026. It follows an unnamed, right now, descendant of Trevor Belmont. So it's putting us right back in the thick of the Belmonts and the lore that we have going on there. So I was so stoked, and you know what? It takes a lot these days to get me stoked for like a new game reveal, and I felt like this was like just what we needed after the last couple of months of Metroid Prime 4. So really looking forward to that. But you know what? That wasn't the only highlight coming out of this state of play. If you were looking for a new Metroidvania and you were just like, man, I need a new Metroidvania to play right now, well, guess what? You are totally covered. There is a new God of War Metroidvania. The Sons of Sparta was actually shadow dropped on the day of the state of play, so it came out on February 12th. And you know what? I've kind of been looking at the reviews, and I think the reviews have been, I think it's fair to say, like, mixed so far. But I mean, obviously the game just came out, so I don't imagine like a lot of people have had a big opportunity to really go hands-on with it. So we'll kind of keep track of that as more reviews kind of come out. But I thought that this looked pretty solid as well. It's got like a very like 16-bit, kind of like an ActRaiser kind of vibe to it, or games of those ilk. Maybe you could even say like Final Fantasy VI kind of aesthetic to it. It looks like pretty cool for what it is. I was watching the trailer, and you know what? Like, as someone that's been, I would say like lukewarm on God of War over the years. I really liked the 2018 game. I never got around to playing Ragnarok. I didn't care for like the original series of games. I think I played 1 and 2, and I thought they were fine, like back in the day on the PlayStation 2, but they were never really my favorite genre games to play. And those games are getting remade as well, by the way. The original trilogy was also announced as getting a remake in this state of play. But you know, looking at the trailer for Sons of Sparta, like, I think it looks pretty decent. You've got some good combat going on here. It's a unique art style. So you know what, I wouldn't go out of my way to play this, but I'm always a big fan of new Metroidvanias coming out, and I really like the fact that they were just like, God of War, Sons of Sparta, coming 2026, and in the end of the trailer, you've got like the little Spartan running out, and they just like completely say like, oh, actually, just kidding, available today. So I thought that was really cool as well. So lots of good Metroidvania content on this state of play, and you know what, you know that I have to take a moment, and I have to talk about Metal Gear Solid, because we are back. Konami had a resurgence in this state of play. Like, I just want Konami to give me new Castlevania, and I want them to give me new Metal Gear. And we didn't get new Metal Gear, but like, I can live with what we did get. We got the Master Collection Volume 2, and you know what, like, honestly, this is pretty exciting for the sole fact that Metal Gear Solid 4 is free. It's being released from the shackles of the PlayStation 3. I legit have not played this since like 2008 when it came out on the PlayStation 3, because I got rid of my PlayStation 3. So it's been a long time since I played Metal Gear Solid 4. So I'm actually like really stoked to go through this again. I quite like Metal Gear Solid 4. I know that some people are a little bit divided on it. It does definitely have some long and outrageous cutscenes, but man, I think when you're fighting like the Beauty and the Beast Corps, like, that's like some of the best stuff that you could ask for in Metal Gear. So really looking forward to that. Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is also included in here as well. You know, Peace Walker I think is okay. It's like that era in the timeline of Metal Gear and like Metal Gear Solid, it's not like my favorite era, kind of like the timeline in between Metal Gear Solid 3 and like Metal Gear on NES. And like Metal Gear Solid 5, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Portable Ops, they kind of lean into that time, and it's not my favorite. And you know what, I mean, Peace Walker is it's a different type of Metal Gear game. And I think that most of what it did, I would say that Metal Gear Solid 5 did a little bit better, but you know what, I'm still happy that it's coming out as well. Because you know what, I don't know, it's been a while since I've gotten to play that, and I would definitely go and give that another chance. And really exciting actually is Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel, or just like the Metal Gear Solid game on Game Boy Color. As it was released in North America, it was just called Metal Gear Solid. This game, like, for anybody sleeping on this, first and foremost, it's super awesome that this is being included in this collection, because I don't think that this game has been ported anywhere ever. But like, this game is consistently reviewed as one of the best Game Boy Color games, like one of the best. Let's call it the original era Game Boy games. I've played it, and it's really fun. For what it is, of course, you got to put that asterisk beside it, and it's definitely more like it's more like Metal Gear on like NES than it is Metal Gear Solid. Like, you'll feel much more familiar with that than you know, being a familiar Metal Gear Solid experience. But I'm really excited to play this again. So even though there was no like new games, it's been so long since since I got to play Metal Gear Solid 4 and Ghost Babel and to a lesser extent Peace Walker, that I was like really excited about this. I still like I want a new Metal Gear, and maybe you can't do it without Hideo Kojima, but like maybe you can. And if you can't do it without Hideo Kojima, just remake Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. Like Metal Gear Solid 3 didn't need a remake, but the first two I think definitely could. And you've got just kind of that template there. So hopefully that's coming down. But I mean honestly, hopefully we just get like something new coming as well. So there was a lot of pretty cool stuff in this state of play. Death Stranding 2 is coming to PC next month, which is exciting if you don't have a PlayStation 5 like me. Some other cool stuff as well, like the Legacy of Kain, which was always kind of a guilty pleasure of mine, is coming out. The collection, Ghost of Yotai, is getting DLC. And I never actually got around to playing this game, but I heard that it was really, really great. And I'm talking about Kenna. I blanked on the name there for a second. Kenna, the Bridge of Spirits, came out in 2021, and it was supposed to be like a pretty cool Zelda-like game. I don't remember now what the reception was to that game, but I never got around to playing it. And there's a sequel coming out, Kenna Scars of Cosmora, which I thought looked pretty cool. But honestly, like the last thing I want to talk about in this state of play, I thought the John Wick game looked so sick. This game looks so great. I hope that it's not like a total train wreck. The trailer was awesome. The motion capture for Keanu looks absolutely great. It's made by Saber Interactive, so I do have high hopes. I'm a sucker for John Wick, so I'm excited about this one. But yeah, I thought this was like a really, really strong state of play, like a shot in the arm that I feel like Sony needed, and maybe I'm alone in that feeling. Like maybe that could just be me, but I'm feeling like really good about PlayStation for the first time in a while, and like I came away from watching this and I was like, okay, maybe it's time. Like maybe enough time has passed that I do need to go and finally get myself a PlayStation 5. So. That was all the news, so very, very excited for Castlevania. It's been a long time, like the last 2D Castlevania, Metroidvania that I can think of, honestly, was probably Order of Ecclesia for the Nintendo DS in like 2007, which, my God, like that's almost 20 years ago we're talking about, so, and you know what, the great thing is that Konami said that they have more stuff kind of in line for the 40th anniversary of Castlevania, so you're really looking forward to that, and hopefully we do see some more of that coming down the pipe. Okay, so a few things that I just want to quickly make note of before we get to this ROM hack review is number one, we have got a brand new season of GUI Plays Metroid over on patreon.com/spnet. That is right, we are back with season 2 of the show, and as the name implies, GUI is playing Metroid 2 for the first time. So GUI has never played most of the Metroid games, and season 1 was, of course, we were playing Metroid on NES. Season 2, we talked about the Game Boy outing for Samus here. So episode 1 kind of focused on like how the game feels, what the presentation is like, the manual, the challenges in trying to make a map, because Goo and his partner are making a hand-drawn map of SR388, and I warned him, I was like, this is gonna be tough, man, because this map like is paradoxical. It doesn't fit the way that you would think a grid-based map should fit. So we talked about that. Went over the instruction manual, and we talked about the spider ball, actually, which I've been like kind of critical of here on this Omega Metroid podcast before. And you know what? I'm not the only one, by the way. Doom and I think Dak as well have both kind of been a little bit lukewarm on the spider ball, but we had a really good discussion about it, and Goo gave his thoughts. So that is out right now over on the Hunter tier on patreon.com/spnet. So hey, $4 gets you in the door, and man, you get like a ton of bonus episodes if you're going there. So the show that we're releasing today, like I said, is from 2022. There is at least a 2+ year long series called the Great Metroid Area Ranking, where we painstakingly rank every single area in the Metroid series. We did this over the course of about 2 years, different guests kind of coming in to give their thoughts and share their opinions, and we got a list of like 85 areas. So all of that is available over on patreon.com/spnet. And you know what, too? We've got a cool new announcement. So like we said last week, we're done for right now, at least for right now, with Metroid Prime 4, like specific content. Don't worry, like we're going to be back. We're going to keep talking about Metroid Prime 4 in the future, and we're going to talk about like the implications of what that could look like for Metroid Prime 5 or future Metroid titles, or there's still a lot to unpack about the legacy of Metroid Prime 4, but just in like the actual like specifics of the game itself, man, we need a break. We haven't talked about Metroid Prime 4 solid since like September. Like it's been a hot almost 6 months, I feel like, of just Metroid Prime 4. So we are going to take a break, and that was going to start today actually, and so just as fate would have it, the episode didn't work out anyways. So we're gonna put that one back on the shelf. I do want to give everybody a preview of what is to come. So we do have some we got an anniversary coming up here pretty quickly. If you can believe it, Metroid Prime Hunters is celebrating its 20th anniversary in March. So we're going to have a bunch of shows kind of dedicated towards that. And this is very exciting. I'm breaking some news right here on this Omega Metroid podcast episode. But next week, cross my fingers if everything goes right, okay? But next week, for the first time since July, Alien in Review returns. That is right. We've waited a long time, but we are at the last Alien movie. We've covered every single Alien movie except for Alien Covenant, the last movie of the David era, let's just call it. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked for this. Like I think like spoiler, I think Alien Covenant is awesome. I'm not sure how Gooey feels, but we are going to we're going to review it. We're going to talk about it, and you know what? After that, we're going to move on to Alien Earth, because I was like, oh yeah, we'll just, we've got this series called Alien in Review. We'll just wait till we get to this, and then I'll watch Alien Earth. And I thought that wouldn't take as long as it has taken, but here we are, like a year or so after Alien Earth has finally come out. But by God, we are going to be back, and we are going to be talking about Covenant, and I'm super, super stoked about that. So that's coming next week. For now, that is all that I have for everybody. So I do want to thank everybody for checking us out, and just, supporting the podcast. It does mean a lot. Like I said, I do want to just reiterate to everybody, we are going to be covering Metroid Oil Spill, which is a ROM hack by Spetimus. It's available on Metroid Construction right now. It is a Metroid Fusion ROM hack. It is very difficult, and I have a lot to say about it. So the Oil Spill episode is about 50 minutes, so please enjoy, and we will see everybody back here next week for Alien in Review. We'd love to know what you thought of the state of play. If you're excited for Castlevania, come and check out our Discord. Give us a follow wherever you are on Blue Sky. So we are at Spiteri316 Omega Metroid. Give my boys Duminal Cross and Dax City some love as well. And that's going to do it for us. So make sure you check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Check out OmegaMetroid.com. And without further ado, here we go with Metroid Oil Spill. Take care, my friends. What's up, Omega Metroid patrons, and welcome to another installment of ROM hack reviews. Oh man, I'm excited to talk about this game, but I also have I feel a sense of defeat almost with the game that we are about to talk about here. And so I wanted to do this episode maybe a little bit differently than I've done past ROM hack reviews episodes. So what I do when I play a game is I kind of write down notes as they happen throughout the game, like some initial thoughts and stuff like that. Like I actually just like stop playing and just write down a thought before it goes out of my mind, because I kind of like a goldfish. I just won't remember it later. So my list after I'm done a game like Scroll 6, for example, my list ends up looking a little bit scatterbrained, for lack of a better term. Because, like, one entry I'm talking about music, one entry I'm talking about expansions, one entry I'm talking about power-ups and whatever, right? So what I tend to do afterwards is kind of organize that list a little bit to something that flows a little bit better. So we can talk about the areas, or we can talk about the pixels, or whatever. We can talk about the story. So I kind of decided not to do that for this particular ROM hack, because I feel like that almost takes away from the experience that I had. So, and I hope that you guys will kind of understand this, because I was waiting and waiting and waiting for things to like click and feel a little bit more like a normal Metroid ROM hack that I've played so far, but we never quite got there. So, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So I'm going to walk you through my experience with this ROM hack. And we are here today to talk about Metroid Oil Spill. That's right. So Metroid Oil Spill is a Metroid Fusion ROM hack, and it's made by a creator named Spedimus. And pretty it's a nice hack. I want to say that off the top right away here. It's a very fun hack, and it's definitely fixes one of my biggest issues with Metroid Fusion, and that you're not really free to explore until like the latter parts of the game. You're not really free to explore. You're kind of beholden to what Adam tells you to do and the objective, and like there are a little bit of like moments where you can freely explore, like when you're looking for the lock rooms to unlock all the doors and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're really kind of just at the mercy of where he tells you to go. So this game absolutely fixes that. And there's a lot of stuff that is not necessarily... there's a lot of stuff that's like optional for you to do, as we'll talk about in a bit here. But I will say that there is... there's not... It kind of went from one extreme to another, because there's not necessarily a happy medium here. And, when I do these ROM hack reviews, I do them because I like to talk about them. I like to talk about the differences and some of the tweaks and stuff like that. And then, I'll kind of finish it off by saying, like, I recommend this to the player. Or I don't recommend it to the player, or whatever. And I don't think that we've come across a ROM hack review game that I have not recommended yet. I think I've been like, everything we've covered so far, from Rogue Dong to Junkoid to Super Duper, like all of those have kind of some qualities that I think that you guys will like. And I do think that Metroid Oil Spill does as well. However, do not even attempt this game if you are not really good at Metroid Fusion. Don't even do it, because this ROM hack was super, super hard. And I'm kind of looking at the reviews on Metroid Construction right now, and there's a lot of reviews that say like this is an incredible game, but it's hard. And I never really look at reviews before I go ahead and play. But I went to look at the reviews afterwards, and it seems like I'm not the only one that struggled with this. So it's a very hard game, but it is fun. And we're going to dive into this. Like I said, I'm just going to kind of have a more almost bullet point like thought process here rather than like a organized collection of thoughts. And that'll kind of take you through my journey throughout this game. And, let's just start it off and let's get it going. To activate the repair drones and save the wildlife and save the planet that it's on. Now, there's no specific planet that's named or anything like that. So you kind of go in and that's your premise. You land on the planet, you have to shut off or turn on the drones and the oil freighter. I kind of like this actually because it kind of gives me like Metal Gear Solid 2 vibes, like on the big shell, like when Raiden has to go in and like, infiltrate that huge complex. It's kind of like the same kind of idea here. And you start the game off, and unfortunately, so one of my least favorite things about Metroid Fusion is Adam, as I think all of you guys know. And so unfortunately, you have to start the game off talking to that mofo. And he's kind of giving you the same rundown, like he's telling you where to go. And he's just, he literally busts out the old, is your objective clear? And I was just like, oh God, I hope that we're not going to have to talk to this guy very much during this game. And actually, luckily enough, you don't really have to. You talk to him at the beginning, you talk to him, I think, at the end, and that's pretty much it. And I can totally live with that. Like, I think that that's completely fine. There's only, I think there's like 1 or 2 nav rooms in the entire game. So there's not really a lot of chances for you to interact with Adam. So that's, that's a plus in my book, because I think that he's my least favorite part of Metroid Fusion. So immediately this hack was kind of doing away with one of my big gripes about Fusion. Although they probably could have done away entirely with Adam, and I think that would have been fine. But hey, whatever. So about the actual hack itself and some of the, just some of the specifics and technical bits here. The soundtrack is from Metroid Fusion, so there's no original music, which I always really love original music, even if it's not necessarily like, I don't know, the greatest, catchiest music in the world. Like I think that it helps kind of give an identity to the ROM hack, but this one does not feature that, and it's okay. Like the music is fine. I think that the soundtrack in Metroid Fusion is kind of, it's okay. It's not on my high end of Metroid soundtracks, but I mean, I was playing with headphones, so it sounded a little bit better than maybe it regularly would. You're able to do like a couple different moves actually in this game than you are in regular Fusion. Specifically, single wall jumps, which you are definitely not capable of doing in Fusion, but you are capable of doing it in Super Metroid is what I'm trying to say, and Metroid Zero Mission. So that's kind of a welcome return in this game, and it's nice to kind of see those physics that I'm a little bit more familiar with show up, and you're going to need to know how to single wall jump in this game. The spoiler right there. So for some reason, we kind of have the X still floating around, and I guess that makes sense because instead of traditional like power or instead of like traditional like health or missile refills or whatever, you do have the X in Metroid Fusion, and this is a Fusion ROM hack, so that's fine, but they're not really integrated into the story at all. They're just kind of there. And I think that they're trying to maybe infer that like the X are responsible for the oil leak. And maybe I just missed it, but I don't know if they ever like truly connect those dots, but whatever, like the X are there. They're not doing anything really other than just being power-ups and health and items and whatever. And by that, I mean, like, they're not... Sometimes in Metroid Fusion, you'll destroy an X and it'll kind of turn into a different enemy, and you can shoot that enemy and it'll transform something else. And you can kind of use that to change your environment a little bit for some puzzles and other things like that. None of that in this game. They're just kind of there. The map is... the map is great. I think Metroid Fusion's map is awesome. Thank God that it shows you the circles on the map where the expansions are, and secret passageways and stuff like that. So yeah, the map is great. Although I absolutely hate that you can't switch areas on your map from anywhere. You know what I mean? I just like that drives me absolutely nuts. That's one of my biggest pet peeves in Metroid, actually. And I'm willing to forgive Super Metroid because it's a 30-year-old game. I guess I'm willing to forgive Metroid Fusion, although I think that they should have had that functionality in that game even in 2002. And from Zero Mission on, like we've understood, like, okay, we can switch areas with our maps, and that's fine. And this is a good gameplay mechanic. So I do wish that some of these ROM hacks were able. I mean, I don't know anything about ROM hacking, but like, is it that hard to put a button or something that switches, the area that you're looking at? I'm gonna bitch about this every single time that it's not included in a ROM hack that we do. So this, this one unfortunately does not have that. So you start off and you're in the first area. Like I said, the planet isn't named or anything like that, but the first area is modeled after Sector 1, pretty much exactly the same. So you kind of go through some tunnels, and actually you fight our boy, Arachnus, and you get the Morph Ball from him. This guy, I mean, we've all fought Arachnus a million times. This guy kind of felt pretty lame after fighting 2 Arachnuses in... Arachnuses? I don't know. But after fighting 2 of those guys in Scroll 6, fighting one of them was just kind of pedestrian, but, I mean, whatever. So yeah, you're going through the first area, and everything looks the same, sprite work is the same, everything like that, until you get to the area just outside the actual freighter, and there's this, like, awesome red sky background in it. It looks really beautiful, actually. So that was really cool, and, again, just incredible that some of these creators and artists and stuff like that are able to kind of like seamlessly blend stuff from outside the game into the game. I'm always just in absolute awe of that. So this was very cool. And they made you kind of take the long way to get into the actual freighter, which I kind of like too. So it made it feel like a little bit of work. This is where I started to realize that this game requires, like, not optional to get like a couple extra expansions. No, this game requires you to do a little bit more advanced tactics. And maybe like you guys will scoff at this because there's, everyone's definition of advanced is different, but like for example, you have to do wall jumping. Like you have to do single wall jumping. You have to be able to like jump and then quickly turn into a morph ball as you're on the ascent of your jump, and to be able to kind of squeeze into higher up tunnels. I call that like morph ball falling. There's probably an official name for that. But essentially, you have to jump and then quickly transform into Morph Ball and slide into wherever you're going. And there are some absolutely bonkers Shine Spark puzzles that you are required to do later, which we can talk about. So the movement of this game requires you to be pretty good at Metroid Fusion. So just, take that with a little bit of a warning. So once you get outside the freighter, you have to go into the second area, which is the ocean. And as you might guess, this is modeled after Sector 4, which looks cool. I think the ocean looks really cool in Sector 4. So again, this was fine. And there's a lot of like really tight platforming, which is always a challenge when you're underwater. So I actually really enjoy this. But then I finally made it to the actual freighter itself. And so the freighter it's certainly modeled after like the main deck of the BSL. Like it's steely. It's kind of got like a lot of grays and stuff like that. But I think that most of the backgrounds have been changed. Like specifically in rooms with oil in them, you can see like the hazard signs in the background, or there's kind of like a lot of reds in this game. And I don't remember, other than like Sector 3, I don't remember there being a lot of like kind of red color palette in Metroid Fusion. So that's one thing that I noticed in this game constantly throughout my playthrough, and I think it works really well. It kind of makes the inside of the freighter look a little bit distinct. So yeah, I actually quite dug this, and you kind of, again, you can kind of pick and choose where you want to go. There's no inherent direction, which is good, but also a little bit bad, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But I was wandering around, and I'm inside the freighter, and I find the second boss pretty quickly, and I'm like, okay, great. That was the Corex. And just like in Metroid Fusion, so all the bosses are exactly the same as in Metroid Fusion. There's no changes or gimmicks really that separates them, other than they're just like goddamn difficult. But the Core X wasn't too bad this time, so I defeated the Core X and I got the Charge Beam. And I was like, great. And I proceeded a little bit further in the freighter, kind of shooting and jumping and running and morph, ball, falling, all that good stuff. And I got to the third boss, which was Zazabi. And this one was a little bit trickier. The bosses, like the boss patterns, haven't changed. What I said is true. But some of the areas have changed. And this one in particular was a little bit tough, but not unbearable. Not unbearable. So if you guys remember, Zazabi is that big, slinky looking purple boss from Metroid Fusion. He's kind of got like the springs on the top of his, like the 5 springs. It kind of looks like hair on the top of his head. So that's like a decent enough fight in Metroid Fusion. Not really that hard. In this one, there's like acid on the ground. So like there's a platform, acid. And so that actually changes the complexion of the fight like a lot. But again, it wasn't like ridiculous. So I was like, okay, this is fine. And I was able to defeat him my first try. And I got the high jump boots, and I was like, okay, we're looking good so far. Like, it's definitely a little bit more of a challenging run here, but you know, nothing completely outrageous. So I'm pressing on, and I get back to the ocean, and I'm like, okay, great, let's go. I don't have the gravity suit, mind you, so just keep that in mind. But I'm in the ocean, and I have to go fight Ceres. And Ceres, I usually think, is a pretty manageable boss. However, the battlefield has completely changed for Ceres, and there are no platforms where you can hide on the underground. Like, there's just like one straight platform, or piece of ground, I guess you would say, and it's curved, so Ceres can attack you from almost anywhere on it. It's very hard to see the 3 bubbles pop up, like you would in Metroid Fusion, to kind of... That's his tell that he's about to pop up and smash you. This was hard. I died to Ceres so many times. So many times I died to this guy. And, I felt like it was very clear that I was fighting him too early. And I probably was, because I keep in mind, I just have the regular charge beam, and the regular missile, and the regular beam at this point. So it took forever to beat Ceres. I probably fought this guy like 50 times. I actually streamed it, and I died a bunch of miserable deaths on stream. So if you want to watch me just getting absolutely obliterated by Ceres, you can go and do that. But eventually, by God, I was able to win, and I was able to get the speed booster, which is actually a completely optional fight, an optional power-up that you need. I think it's recommended that you have it, and there are definitely areas where it's a lot easier if you have it, but this was a tough battle. It was a tough battle. So once I got back onto the freighter, I continued exploring, and there's a couple different sections of the freighter, and the way that they do this is actually very cool. They essentially repurpose a bunch of the like sectors from Metroid Fusion into different parts of the oil freighter. So, for example, you have Sector 3, which is the engine room, and you see it, and it's kind of like all heating and on fire. Like, it's a very fiery area. Obviously, Sector 4, as I mentioned, was made into the ocean outside. Sector 1 is kind of the surrounding area of the planet. The cargo hold is essentially a kind of a mix of Sector 5 and Sector 6. So it's very cool the way that they repurpose it. They get a lot of mileage from it and make these sectors into distinct parts of the freighter, which I thought was a pretty cool job. But again, the difficulty is absolutely ramped up here. So just the way, like, both in terms of like how much damage you take, and also in terms of like how much damage you deal. So I feel like both of those together were a pretty daunting tag team of difficulty to be able to deal with. And speaking of tag teams here, I mentioned earlier we were talking about Arrakis, and it was just kind of like, fighting one of these guys now was kind of lame. Well, this game had something in store for me, because I'm going to the next boss, and I'm like, okay, it's time to fight the barrier core, which, for anybody that remembers, is like the big X thing with all the... It's like the big ball that has like all the mini balls around it or whatever, and you gotta blast it. And I'm like, this guy isn't too bad. I was kind of getting to the point where I knew I needed to get the Various suit, because like there were only so many other areas that I could explore without the Various suit. So I was like, okay, I gotta fight the barrier core. And there were 2 of these big bastards. And this, again, was very, very challenging. Although, I will say, the barrier cores themselves were manageable. It was tough, but they were manageable. But this game consistently, from about this battle to like the next 4 or 5 boss battles, I would say that fighting the Core X after the boss has been defeated was as tough, if not tougher, than fighting a lot of the actual bosses. And this one was definitely tough, because you had 2 of these things going at you, and they're shooting at you, and they're flying at you from every direction, and it was insane, and they do massive damage. But I finally shot them, and I finally got the Various suit. And let me tell you one of my favorite things about Metroid Oil Spill. We all know how absolutely god-awful the Fusion Various suit looks. It looks like puke. It looks like vomit. It looks like the water that you find in a puddle at the gas station that's shimmering green and pink in different colors, okay? It looks absolutely terrible. The Various suit in this game looks freaking awesome. They changed the color schemes, and it's so good. Now, instead of the gas station water, you have a slick, most of it's gray, but the accent colors are orange. It looks so awesome. So awesome! I wish that this was like the standard Various suit in Metroid Fusion, because it looks good. So yeah, I'm exploring, I'm running, and I'm doing my thing. There was one weird room in the engine room where it was kind of like a long hallway. There's a bunch of obstacles that you have to jump over. And the gimmick of this room is that the SAX, like the monster version of the SAX, not the Samus version of the SAX, is chasing you. And it's hopping like really big leaps and hops and stuff like that. And that's kind of the gimmick of the, and it's just in this one room. You never fight it. You never really see it again. It's just this monster happens to be in there. It's loose, and you just kind of avoid it. So I thought that was a little bit weird. Maybe you're supposed to go back and fight it. I certainly did not, because I don't think there's an opportunity to go and fight it. But, yeah, I thought that he was just, I was kind of like, what are you doing here, buddy? Like, shouldn't you be, I don't know, somewhere else doing something? So that one was weird. But anyways, eventually I pressed on, and I got to Yakuza, the spider boss. Oh my god. This guy, again, was such a bitch. He was so difficult. And you have to keep in mind here, so I'm like halfway through the game. Okay? I'm at least halfway through the game. And I don't have Morph Ball bombs. I don't have any other type of beam other than the regular beam with a charge beam. I have like 60 missiles, okay? So like I am very, very under-equipped to go and fight these bosses, which have been given more health and deal more damage. So Yakuza kicked my ass like just a pathetic amount of times. The actual boss battle was the same, which is fine. But, oh, man, this was absolutely tough. And then this guy's Core X, again, popped out and just did not want to go down easily. And I had no missiles left, so I'm shooting at it, desperately trying to maneuver around it, but also trying to suck up all the green X's flying around. Dude, oh my god, this was so insanely tough. But eventually I beat this bastard and got the space jump. And this was actually kind of weird, because after I beat him, I went into the next room, and I activated the bots to repair the oil freighter. And then that's when you talk to Adam, and he's just kind of like, oh, return to your ship. You're good. You've beaten the game. You're free to explore. Good job. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I will keep exploring, because I feel like there's still some unfinished business here. So it was kind of abrupt. But I did activate the bots. They started to do their thing. And, I kept on exploring. And I also want to make note, too, that, again, you barely have to talk to Adam, which is great, because I hate talking to Adam. So that was really fun. And I was exploring, and I was trying to maximize my firepower, my missiles, because, I felt so under-equipped. And there are a lot of missiles and energy tanks, but, there are some absolutely bonkers expansions in this game to get, where you have to be incredibly precise with your shine sparking, with your morph ball jumping. So many of these expansions were hidden behind these insanely intricate and complicated puzzles that you have to be extremely skilled to be able to get. I was able to get a lot of them, but certainly not all of them. And the ones that I did get, I'm not ashamed to say, I used save states to help me with a few of the really redonkulous Shine Spark puzzles. So, yeah, tons and tons and tons of expansions kind of hidden around. And like I said, you have to be damn good to get some of these. So I'm kind of exploring around the oil freighter. And like I said, there's no real... I think that there is an art in a Metroid game to the pacing of the game, and that's why we actually include that on our definitive ranking that we do for Omega Metroid Pod. And so the art of pacing is that the game will funnel you from one boss to the next boss to the next boss, or to the next expansion or power up or whatever, and it will funnel you there in a way that doesn't feel like it's pushing you explicitly to this direction. I think that Metroid Dread is maybe the best example of pacing in the series, where you keep on, you're free to kind of explore freely, and you can venture off and do a bunch of different things, but each power-up that you get really leads you to another area that makes a lot of sense. So, after you get the Varia suit, for example, you'll go to a teleportal station and go to a new area that, you weren't able to access before. The way that Metroid Dread keeps you kind of going from place to place, I think, is a very good example of pacing. And when pacing is done properly, it's kind of subliminal. You don't actually know that you are on this track. And I think that Metroid Fusion did a completely awful job of this, because it very clearly does point you to where you need to go, but I think too much, and it forces you to stop so often that you need to listen to Adam, and you just want to kind of explore. So I think that this is, again, to recoin what I said earlier, it's the extreme, but in the opposite direction, where there's no pacing and you're kind of free to explore anywhere that you want in the ship. So I'm exploring, and I find kind of a hidden little nook, and I'm like, it's Box. Well, I'm going to fight Box. And the battlefield is the same, and we're talking the second Box fight here, by the way. So Box is shooting off all of his stupid missiles, and they keep knocking me down. I can't shoot his missiles because I only have my regular charge beam and not the spacer beam or anything like that. And so I'm just like, this isn't happening. I can't beat this guy with my current equipment. So I move on to the next boss. And eventually I fight Notori somewhere in the bottom of the cargo hold. And again, I'm just like, I am pumping him with... I think I have about 90 missiles at this point, and I'm pumping him with missiles. And it's good enough to destroy his first phase, but then the second phase, where he shoots the plasma beams at you, I was just like, with all the spores flying around, and I'm doing no damage with my charge shots and my regular beams, I can't fight this guy right now with my current equipment. And so I go and explore some more, and eventually I get to Nightmare. And this guy just absolutely just demolished me. So, when you're fighting Nightmare and the first phase is the regular, you shoot his little gravity sack thing, maybe once or twice, and then the second phase starts where the gravity's all kind of wonky. I was on the first phase with my current equipment loadout for probably 50 shots, and when I hit him the 50th time with my stupid charge beam, then phase 2 activated, and we started the gravity section, and I was like, this is not feasible. I cannot fight with this current equipment that I have. So I'm going everywhere. I'm exploring. I'm getting kind of frustrated because I'm just like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? It's, again, worth mentioning, there's no morph ball bombs. So, like, exploring is definitely tough. But I keep at it, and I finally found the elephant bird, which is basically like the human that you fight in Sector 3 that dies right away and like the Corax pops out. And I finally found this thing hidden away, and that gave me the Spazer Beam, or I think they call it the Wide Beam in Metroid Fusion. And I finally got this, and I was like, oh my god, this changes everything. So with the Spazer Beam, I was able to go back to Box, and I was able to shoot off all the stupid little missiles that he has, and shoot them so that they wouldn't knock me down into the electrified water. And this was impossible with just the regular beam, but eventually I did it. I got Box, and then I had to fight his Corax, which is actually far more challenging than fighting Box itself, but I did it. And I got the wave beam, and I was like, oh, thank God. So I go back to Notori, and I've got a few more missiles now, but I've got beams that actually do something. And eventually I was able to beat Notori too, so I was like, oh yeah, I got the plasma beam now. Now I'm rocking and rolling. And then I went to Nightmare, and I was finally able to finish this bastard off, which was awesome. And now I was kind of feeling like, okay, now I'm rocking and rolling. And so I did this, and after you beat Nightmare, you get the gravity suit, obviously, which is also recolored and looks awesome. But I don't think it looks as awesome as a Varia suit. But you're able to go, and there's a data room and a lock room behind Nightmare, which you are able to, first of all, you're able to unlock all the red doors. So throughout the game, there's a bunch of red doors that you'll see, but like you have no way to open them or anything like that. You have to unlock them. There's only red doors. There's no other colors. So eventually I was able to unlock the red doors, which was awesome. And I was able to get to the data room, which gave me the super missiles, the fission missiles, and the ice missiles. So, like, very quickly, I went from feeling like I was, like, this complete scrub to, all right, now I feel like Samus. And this is awesome. So, eventually, I was like, okay, well, I know that I can go up and end the game, but, like, I feel like I haven't fought Ridley. What's going on here? And so I probably wandered around for like a good half hour looking for the Ridley room, and I couldn't find it. And eventually I was like, all right, if I was Ridley, where would I hang out? I'd probably hang out somewhere hot. So I went back to the engine room, and I kind of perused around there for a while, and eventually I did find Ridley's room, and I went and I fought Ridley, and I thought that it was kind of weird because like it was a completely optional boss fight, which kind of kind of feels weird for like Ridley. Like you would feel like that would be kind of the boss fight that the repair drones would be hidden behind instead of Yakuza. So yeah, I went and did that. I think that Ridley's pretty easy in Metroid Fusion. Very easy, actually. I don't know what's actually an easier Ridley fight, Zero Mission or Metroid Fusion. That would be tough because I think that they're both like kind of pathetic. But this fight was like slightly harder. But I've also been used to like really kind of wheeling and dealing here with these enemies that are far more powerful than me. So now that I actually have a little bit more power and oomph behind my beams, I feel like I was, I was playing a little bit better here. So I was able to finish Ridley off pretty quickly, and got the screw attack, which is awesome. And then I was like, okay, I think it's time to end this thing. And so I start to head back. And actually, before I get to the ending of the game, I do want to mention too that I think that of all of the hacks that I've played so far, I don't want to disparage anything here, because I do think that this is, again, for the most part, a very fun hack. But I will say that of all the hacks I've played so far, I think this one had the most technical issues. Just in like, there was lots of lag in this game, particularly when like you're shooting at space pirates and stuff like that. There was some kind of weird like sound distortion that happened. This didn't really affect the game. It was just kind of like a thing that takes you out of it a little bit. Like, so particularly when you are like speed boosting or shine sparking, and you're charging, and you hear that sound charging up, or like when you're firing off ice missiles or diffusion missiles that are just, they kind of have that like sound to them. Those sounds would be a little bit distorted a lot of the times, which is kind of weird. And this, I only noticed this when I was fighting Box, but I would fall into the water and like some numbers would just randomly pop up, like kind of big numbers. And I was like, is this like the damage values or random values or something like that? And so there's just like weird technical issues, nothing that's going to make or break your enjoyment of this ROM hack. But I do, I thought that I would mention it, for what it's worth. And also for what it's worth. So like I mentioned earlier, the game will actually tell you to go back to your ship after you've activated the drones, which is kind of weird because you can't actually do that. So I headed back to where my ship was, and I was like, oh, well, I can't access it. And I thought maybe I was doing it wrong or something like that. But nope. I just went back there, and you were not able to access your ship. And I was like, okay, well, I guess there's got to be somewhere else. And I kind of went back and I did a little bit of exploring. And I went on top of the actual oil freighter. So that big room with the red background that I was talking about earlier, just outside the oil freighter. I went there, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. There's a Metroid egg on the top. And I'm thinking to myself, this is obviously where the final bit of the game is going to be. And I go through, and you have to use your speed boost to shatter a bunch of blocks there. So I guess the speed boost isn't optional, actually. I guess you do need it. Although, you know what? No, that's not true. Because there were speed boost blocks, and there were a screw attack box up above it. So you either needed to get the speed booster or the screw attack. One of the two. But either way, you need to get one of them to finish the game. So I go there, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna get an Omega Metroid fight here. That's very cool. And I thought that this was very disappointing, because the ending played out exactly as it does in Metroid Fusion. So you go up to the Omega Metroid, trying to shoot it, shoot. Nothing is happening. I'm like, okay. And he hits me and takes me down to 1 HP. And I was like, okay, well, this is normally where the SAX would show up. I wonder what they're going to do for this game. And then the SAX shows up. And it was very weird, because the SAX, like the Samus version of the SAX, has not been in this game at all. And the monster version of the SAX was in this one weird room down in the engine room. So the SAX randomly shows up, has not been a factor in this game, has not been a part of this game at all, and does its thing. The Omega Metroid blasts it with its claws, and you absorb the X that floats out of it, and you've got the various suit, and you've got the ice beam and stuff like that, and you shoot the Omega Metroid exactly as you would in Metroid Fusion. There's no timer, there's no nothing like that. So yeah, like that was the end of the game, and I felt like that was, I don't know, pretty anticlimactic actually, because it didn't make sense in the context of this game's story and the context of this game's setting. I thought that maybe they would, like, I think that if you just fought the Omega Metroid and just like a regular battle without any kind of like of the story elements or the cinematics, I think that could have been fun. But the way that this game like finished, I was just like, oh, okay. Like, it felt very rushed. It felt very anticlimactic. So yeah, it was weird. It was a flat ending, I guess is the best way to say it. And it kind of left me just like, oh, I guess that's it. Whereas in some of the other games that I've played, like Rogue Dawn or Vitality or something like that, I was just like, man, this ending was awesome. What a great way to cap this ROM hack. So this one, unfortunately, did not have that. And I guess what I'm thinking, and by the way, the ending is like literally exactly the same even after you beat the game, because you have the exact same cutscene with Adam, and he's like, oh, I bet you're wondering how I was able to pilot the ship, and you've got the zoom in on the Etecuns and Decoras, and it's just like, huh? And then you see a cinematic of the BSL blowing up, and you're like, huh? I don't know why did they include that? Why not just cut that? Because it doesn't have anything to do with the context of the story that you're telling. Nothing. So yeah, it was a confusing ending, I thought. Which I guess, is kind of fitting because I liked this hack. I can't say I loved it. Like I mentioned earlier, there was just an absolute ton of pacing issues, which I think really kind of hampered the game. Like I would say the first 75 to 80% of this game is insanely hard. Like insanely hard because you are so under-equipped and the game doesn't really lead you or point you in the right direction to, to where you need to go in order to get new items or new expansions. And I mean, I guess like Super Metroid doesn't do that either necessarily, but I just feel like the map is a lot tighter in that game. And even with Super Metroid, I feel like it does kind of point you in a better direction than this game does. And it's also less difficult, so there's that as well. So that was a big flaw of this game. I mean, yes, and by the way, it's worth noting, Morph Ball bombs never showed up. Power bombs never showed up. So that was also made exploration definitely challenging. I guess I would say my final thoughts is that this hack has moments of greatness where like it's really fun and you're exploring, and there's some times where I'm just like, man, this is how Metroid Fusion should have been. Like just you're able to explore wherever you want. But I will say again, extremes. Like I think that it needed somewhere in the middle, because for as many moments of greatness and as fun as it was, there are so many times where it's very frustrating, not being able to beat bosses, not being able to have an idea of where you want to go. It was a frustrating experience a lot of the times, and you combine that with the high degree of difficulty. I mean, I can't recommend this unless you consider yourself like a really, really good Metroid Fusion player. And the thing about the difficulty, I think I talked about this last month when we were doing Scroll 6, but part of the difficulty of this game, which I don't like, is it's very artificial. You know what I mean? Like the difficulty, I feel like if you have a sequence or a boss that requires you to be like very precise in how you aim or how you move or something like that, I'm okay with that. I don't really like bosses where the difficulty is artificial. And by that I mean like where like the boss just has like an insane number of HP and like the hits that it deals out are like do massive damage. Like I think that I think the bosses should be challenging, but even like regular enemies too are just like it's pretty wild like in this game, like how much damage everything dishes out and how much damage you take as a player. And I feel like it's certainly more than Fusion, like the base game in Fusion. And I've heard people say that Metroid Fusion is a hard Metroid game. I don't really think so. This is a hard Metroid game, Metroid Oil Spill. So that kind of difficulty is just kind of a little bit of a turnoff because it's just I feel like it's just like something anybody could do. Like if something is difficult but there's a way to do it, but you're just not skilled enough or you're not inputting it properly enough, I feel like that's on me, the player. Like for a good example is like a lot of times in 3D Super Mario games or whatever, there's lots of levels where like you have to be very specific platforming and make your jumps timed and stuff like that. And when you die, it's just like, that was my bad. I messed it up, whatever. This one is just kind of like, this is bullshit. Like I've hit Saris like 20,000 times with my beam and like he's still zooming around. So yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of artificial difficulty in this game, and there is absolutely no way that anyone who is not a really, really good Metroid player and Metroid Fusion player should be taking this game on. So yeah, I finished the game. And by the way, the game, as with Metroid Fusion, does tell you after what expansions you are missing in the areas, which is kind of nice, although it's not as specific as Metroid Fusion, which is also kind of not nice. But I finished the game in 249. I bet you it was closer to 349 because there were a lot of times where I died and like a lot of save state kind of redoing and stuff like that. So I bet you I could tack another hour onto this. So 249, and with 75% of the items, and the ending screen was a bottle of vegetable oil. All right, so I guess maybe that's maybe vegetable oil is like what we were in and what was causing us so much damage in this game. I don't know, but yeah, that is Metroid Oil Spill. The first hack where I would say that my recommendation was not glowing. Not that it's not, I think it is fun, but I do think that like this is definitely geared towards veteran, experienced, and very skilled players. So if you are looking for a challenge, absolutely, this game is the game. And if you are not, you're going to find this very uninviting. So, take that for what it is. All right, that, my friends, is Metroid ROM hack reviews for the month. Just want to, of course, thank all you guys for checking us out over on Patreon. And I will see, while you're listening to this, I'm actually going to be over in Europe. So, bonjour, over from Paris. And I can't think of how to say hi in Italian, but I'm sure I'll think of it later and think I'm a complete fool for not remembering it now that I'm on the spot. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. We'll see you back here next month. I have a game in mind for next month, and it's going to be a little bit different off the beaten path. So very excited for that. Until then, everybody, take care and have a great rest of your day.